What's up, YouTube? I'm back for part 3 of the KISS Discography review. So we ended off with Animalize in the last video, and so yeah, let's just jump in with Asylum. Well, first, what we're listening to in the background, Death Atlas from Cattle Decapitation. Yeah, just an absolutely killer album from last year, probably my favorite. Cattle Decapitation's really just been on a tear for the past decade with their material. I love every single thing they've put out. Well, I love every single thing they've put out, but especially in the last fucking 10 years, it's been fucking amazing. But yeah, if you like what you hear in the background, for sure, check that shit out, because it's fucking slaps. So anyway, yeah, let's jump in with the aforementioned album. So Animalize came out in '84, and so actually, well, let's just give a little bit of a background first on where KISS is at the moment, or at this moment in their career. So in the duration of the last video, we saw 2 original members leave, Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. Eric Carr replaces Peter Criss, and Vinnie Vincent replaces Ace Frehley, and he would play on pretty much half of Creatures of the Night, and then played on Lick It Up, and then he was out of there, and so they got Mark St. John to replace him. He played on Animalize, but right at the beginning of the tour cycle for Animalize, he ended up getting like some sort of like tendonitis or some shit in his arm, and he couldn't play, so he got like 6 shows in or something with the band before he had to just, you know, well, he stayed on the tour with the band, but he never came out and played because he was just in such bad condition. So they got Bruce Kulick, brother of Bob Kulick, who has played on as a ghost musician on some of KISS's previous material, to come in and replace him for the tour, hoping he would get better. He didn't. So Bruce would be hired on as the official permanent guitarist for KISS, and he would appear, or his first album he would appear with the band on would be 1985's Asylum. Like this one a little bit more than Animalize. I mean, they're kind of both in the same kind of part of my ranking for KISS albums. They're neck and neck, but I prefer this one a little bit more. It just has a few better songs. Of course, it does have its filler, but I mean, it's kind of like the natural progression they've been going on since Creatures, where they've kind of been like, they've still got a little bit of a heavy metal influence, although it's kind of been getting a little more, you know, the stadium rock's been getting a little bit more prevalent with each progressive album. You know, of course, it's got its metal moments like King of the Mountain and Who Wants to Be Lonely, I'm Alive, which is a fucking ripper, one of the most underrated Paul Stanley songs, and never hear anybody talk about it. You know, Tears Are Fallen's the big hit off this one. Most you know, your average KISS fan will probably know that one. I'll even like All Night. I mean, I think it's a pretty good song. You got some good ones from Gene on here, Trial by Fire, Secretly Cruel. Of course, there's definitely some filler. Any way you slice it, it's kind of like, whatever. Love's a Deadly Weapon, I don't like that song a lot. And Radar for Love, yeah. Not Radar Love, Radar for Love. Not really a big fan of that song either, which is one of the rare times I'll actually dislike a Paul song from the 80s. So yeah, there's the back. Yeah, but for sure, I'd recommend checking it out if you like, you know, what you've heard from 80s KISS. It's much of the same on this album. So yeah, Asylum. So this would be the first album since, or the next album after Asylum, the follow-up, would be the first album in, gosh, probably since from Unmasked. No, this would be the first album since Dynasty to have the same lineup as the album previous. So that'd be the first time in almost 8 years. And that album would be, and so yeah, the Asylum lineup would continue. They'd have a stable lineup going for the next album, Crazy Nice from 1987. This album is fucking amazing, in my opinion. It's probably in my top 5. I love every single song on this one. I know a lot of KISS fans hate it. This is kind of like the ultimate kind of progression from what started on Creatures of the Night, and they slowly started getting like less heavy metal with each album and more like AOR arena rock kind of sound with more keyboards and shit and a little more glammy sound. But yeah, this is the pinnacle of that kind of AOR style Kiss of the 80s. It's got, just some absolutely killer stuff on here. Crazy Nights, Bang Bang You, No No No, Hell or High Water is a great Gene song. Reason to Live's a good ballad. Turn on the Night's fun. Thief in the Night's pretty good. But, my favorite song on this album, and the one I would say I would recommend checking out, would be the second song on the album. Probably my favorite Kiss song of the 80s incarnation of the band, which is I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. It's probably the most metal sounding song on the album, right there with like No No No, which is a Gene song later on the album. But yeah, it's super fucking killer. It's got one of Paul's best vocal performances on it, and this album, period, is one of Paul's best performances. But yeah, this album kind of coincides with the compilation that came out the next year, Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. It had a couple songs from those sessions appear on it. Let's Put the X in Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard. There's some killer unreleased stuff, or stuff from the Crazy Night session that actually didn't appear on this album, which would be the two songs I named off here. And then there's two other killer ones, Sword and Stone, which is amazing. Check that one out on YouTube. Never been released officially, but it's a great song. Check it out. Well, officially by Kiss. I think there was another band that covered it later. And then Time Traveler, which did appear on the Kiss box set from '01. But yeah, just super cool stuff. And another thing about Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, which I'm going to get to next. But yeah, check this one out. So this came out in 1988, and like I said, it's got the two songs from the Crazy Night sessions, Let's Put the X in Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard, along with some like different kind of mixes and stuff of like older songs. It's kind of like a best of, essentially. Like Love Gun is a little bit different. Beth is a re-recorded version with with Eric Carr on vocals. Yeah, just pretty cool. It's not like the Killers compilation, which I don't have, I need, that came out earlier in the decade, which had like half unreleased material, half best of. But yeah, I'd still probably say pick this up just for those two songs, and it's Kiss best of. You can't go wrong. Honestly. But yeah, moving on. That was '88. Now we're into 1989, and they continue to have a stable lineup. And honestly, this next album is probably one of my least favorite. It's way down there on the list. And that album is 1989's Hot in the Shade. Is it bad? No. Is it, good? No. It's decent at best. I'd probably give this, a 5 or 6 out of 10. It's still listenable for the most part. For one, this album is, it's got 15 songs, which is the most amount of songs on a Kiss record by far. And it's also one of the longest. It's right at an hour or something like that, which I don't need my Kiss albums to be probably over 40 minutes really. Yeah, so there's definitely some filler on here. The story goes that they really didn't even have sessions for this album. It was just they threw together a bunch of demos and mixed them and called it an album essentially. Some of these tracks have a drum machine on them. But yeah, with that being said, there's still some good stuff on here, like Rise to It and Hide Your Heart. I dig Forever. Silver Spoon's awesome. You Love Me to Hate You is probably my favorite song on the album. Another deep cut from Paul that I just really fucking love. It's another killer 80s Paul song. It's got a great vocal performance, kind of like I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. But yeah, I just feel like this album could have been so much better if Kiss would have trimmed the fat, from maybe 15 to 10 songs. And also they kind of changed styles a little bit on the album. there's the back. They went for more of a stripped down approach, maybe in response to, like, you know, Guns N' Roses. They're kind of, you know, kick you in the balls style of rock and roll that, you know, Appetite had just come out 2 years prior, and, you know, maybe that was what they were going for. I don't know. So this album is probably the bluesiest of their unmasked material. But yeah, yeah, this one's down there with Unmasked. Just kind of, it's decent. It's still listenable. But yeah, I'll show you this picture on the inside of the band. I really like that picture. Oh, and speaking of awesome pictures, I don't know if I commented on it or not earlier, but this picture of Paul on the back right there of Crazy Nights is like so majestic with his chest hair. Like that's just like, who doesn't want to look like that? That's fucking awesome. But anyway, yeah, Hot in the Shade, decent album. I mean, there's definitely some laughable material on here, but for the most part, it's still a KISS record, so it's still going to be, you know, listenable. So yeah, moving on to the last album I'm going to show in this video. So some more KISS-tery for you guys. At the end of the Hot in the Shade tour album cycle and tour cycle, drummer Eric Carr would end up getting cancer, and he would fight it for several months, but he would end up passing away in November of 1991. Strangely enough, on the same day as Freddie Mercury died, November 24th. It's 21st or 24th. I know it's one of those two. But yeah, that's, so, you know, they had to get a new drummer, and they got Badlands, well, former Badlands at this point drummer, Eric Singer, who would later go on to play with Alice Cooper and then rejoin KISS, which we will definitely get to later. And so it was be him and Bruce, Paul, and Gene would go on to record one of, well, it's the other album that I said was up there with Destroyer for favorite album, Revenge, which came out in 1992. Yeah, this is like what Hot in the Shade was trying to be, but like they fucking nailed it this time. Like, this album is amazing. You know, it's got just, you know, everything you would want in a KISS record. It's kind of like KISS, they kind of returned to form in a sense to that kind of gritty rock and roll they played in the 70s with this album. I really love it. Just, yeah, I mean, from the opening track Unholy, which is like easily one of Gene's like most evil songs, one of his best songs, that riff to Unholy is so fucking crushing. It's so good. Of course, you know, you got your fun Paul songs with like Take It Off and I Just Wanna. You got your anthem with God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Your sleazy kind of Gene songs with Domino and Spit. Well, that's more of a duet with Paul, but yeah, just an amazing album. Just that band picture says it all. They're in their leather. Yeah, I can't express how much I would. I love this album. The tour they did for it, it is amazing. They got a show from it on the Kissology box set or whatever it is, and that show is amazing. My dad saw it way back in '92 at the Coliseum over in Knoxville. Yeah, just a killer fucking album. Like I said, it's right up there with Destroyer. This and Destroyer are 1, 2. I kind of go back and forth on which one I like better. Usually I like Revenge better, but there's some days I like Destroyer better. But yeah, this would be one of the ones I would probably hand you first. You know, for KISS albums, to help you kind of get into the band, get acclimated with the band. But yeah, Revenge, highly recommended. Check it out. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. So we've gone through 16 of KISS's studio albums, and we've got 4 more to go, and we will knock those out in part 4 next with Carnival of Souls. So stay tuned, guys, and take care.